And that's an all-time classic, inspired from, let's say, Northeast Africa, but not any specific recipe. There is some inspiration from Dororat from Ethiopia, but we are also going to use Harissa from, and this is actually from Morocco. My wife's cousin brought it back from a trip there, so we're going to use that today. I have here 10 nice, small, plump chicken breasts that we're going to prepare first. And we're going to do what we usually do. We are going to create a injection brine, half a liter of cold water, and then a heaping tablespoon of rock salt. Don't use your good sea salt because anyway, you just want the saltiness. So rock salt is the way to go here, a little bit extra. What we're going for here is something that tastes like seawater. And when everything is dissolved, use your finger, give it a taste. Yeah, that's about seawater. That's what you want. Pretty salty. Then we fill up our injection needle. It's a bit tough, this one. And this one has holes all the way along the syringe, so it's very easy because you only have to poke them one time from each end. So into the chicken, give it some water from the other end. And when they are all injected, then we take the rest of our liquid because we don't want to let that go to waste. We pour it over. So we submerge them in salt water. And then I'm going to pop this in the fridge so we can start preparing the other ingredients. And for the chopping, we have onion, we have ginger, and we have garlic. But my wife didn't want to let me use garlic in this recipe, which I don't understand, but...
Yeah, Monica, there are more ingredients than garlic.
Well, I don't mind. It's her recipe, so and she used to make that way before she met me. So I stick with the recipe, and then we see. Then I'll complain afterwards.
Yeah. That's your favorite part, anyway.
So for onion, we need quite a lot. Actually, we have 5 onions here, medium sized. So we chop them down like this in the middle, and then we go from this end, just like this. You don't have to make them super small here because we are going to cook them quite a long time. Not as long as you would for Dororat, but half that way, I would say. We're going to go with these. So they're going to get like semi-rough chop. All chopped, we put them to a side, and then we continue with our ginger. I have a big knob of ginger here, like twice my thumb, something like that. You can dial it up and down, depending what you like. And this we're just gonna give you could actually take it on a microplaner if you don't like chunks of ginger in your food, but that's up to you. I like it with a little bit of texture and some chunks, so I'm just gonna dice it up semi-fine like the onion. And then it's just a question of running your knife through this 7 times. Exactly 7 times. Until you have the texture you want. Next up, we want to sear our chicken. And we are going to use a peanut oil. You could use avocado oil, canola oil, something with a high smoke point. If it wasn't for my wife's sensitive stomach, I would use clarified butter for this.
Oh my God, no.
So let's say medium-high heat. Give it a good splash of this. Obviously, if you have a peanut allergy, you won't use this, but it gives nice flavor. That's a little bit of an Asian inspiration, so the recipe is all over the place. The chicken breast, we just took out the water and patted them dry. So now we're going to add them to our pan, straight up, and get a sear on them. We're not going to cook them. We're just going to get a sear, and then we're going to remove them again while we cook the sauce. And then they will cook finished in the sauce, and that's the whole trick about this. This is going to be so good.
For sure.
But we want to get them a nice browning on them. I think I took a pot big enough. What do you say?
Yeah, I think they will shrink.
I can fit them. They will shrink a bit. Let's give a look here, and when they're nice golden brown like this, then we're going to give them a flip and take them exactly the same on the other side. Let's check the other side, and that looks just beautiful. So we turn down the heat now and we take them out. We want to turn down the heat and let the pan cool off, and I'll explain that in a second why we do that. All of these out, looking good. We set them aside, and then as the pan now has cooled down a little bit, we're going to go in with all of our onion. And then you want to crank up the heat to very low so that you start sweating out the onions very slowly, like you would if you were making doro wat, because you just want them to slowly actually release water and boil in its own water. This will take anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes before they're ready. Once they start simmering a little bit, we will close them up with a lid, and then we'll just let them slow bubble there for a long time. I'll show you how they start to look when we get to the end of that. When they start sweating out like this, we crank it one notch down, and then we're going to put the lid, and we're going to let them sweat here for the next maybe half hour, but every 10 minutes or so give them a stir so they don't burn anywhere in the middle. But that's about it, half an hour. See you then. Now we've been stirring them every 10 minutes, and now we're just about half an hour in, and this is about as far as I want to take them. You see they're nice and golden brown, but not fried or black in any way. This is a perfect way to cook onions. It gives such a nice sweetness to them and depth of flavor. Again, as mentioned before, if you were making doro wat, you would take this even further until they are deeply brown. But now I want to move this to the side a little bit, and then I want to go in with all of our ginger in the middle. In with that. I'm going to crank up the heat a little bit just to get it fragrant. When you start smelling the ginger, which is fantastic fragrance, I love ginger. It doesn't need much to release some oils or liquids or whatever. Then we go in with half a bottle of white wine, dry white wine. We bring that up to a simmer. So we deglaze the pan from the onions so we get the last of the fond lifted. And that's about there. We let it cook off a little bit here, so give it maybe 4 or 5 minutes until the alcohol has disappeared. So this is nice and evaporated and starting to combine here. Then we will go in with initially 3 cans of chopped tomatoes. I might add one more, but we will see that in a bit. But 3 cans of chopped good Greek tomatoes. And here comes our liquid gold, our homemade chicken stock. This is super flavorful. That will give a lot of flavor to our sauce. I'm going to go in with a full liter, because we want to allow the sauce to reduce so we get thick and nice. Then for the spice mixture, as I said, we're going in with Harissa. If you cannot get your hands on Harissa, you could use sambal oleg and then add coriander and caraway seeds, which is already in here. So basically this is your spice mix. And it has bakluti and meski and beldi peppers. And that's why if you can find this in your local whatever international market, this is fantastic, but it's spicy. I'm gonna put in a heaping tablespoon for now, and then we will taste it when we come a bit later. But for now I'll give it a pinch of salt. I don't want to give it too much because I want to adjust that at the end. And the same goes with freshly cracked black pepper, a good pinch of that. And then we're going to combine all of this, and we're going to let that simmer. You can do it at relatively high heat because you want it to reduce, you want it to thicken up a bit. We're going to put a lid, but ajar, and then we're going to let it boil probably 45 minutes to an hour. We'll see until we have the thickness we want before we add our chicken back to cook. This has been reducing for quite some time now, and it looks good, and the color definitely changed. It became much darker, very nice. And a nice thickness, not too thick, but still you don't want it watery. You want to have a sauce here and not let's say a soup. It reduced about this much down the sides, so it's just perfect for what I want. First, I want to taste the sauce to see where we are. Salt, spices. I think a little pinch of salt, but it's not much. It's very close. I mean, it's amazing how a tablespoon of harissa can give so much flavor. I mean, it's insane. So that's really nice. So I think it's time that we reintroduce our chicken to the party. So they're gonna go in one by one here and nestle them into the sauce. And it's nice if they stick out just a little bit. You don't want them totally submerged. You want a little bit to stick out. And now we're gonna cook this for maybe 45 minutes, 30 minutes, I don't know. We will check the core temperature. We have to reach late 60s in Celsius, 67, 68, something like that. You don't want to take it too far. I mean, you could make this with chicken thighs, obviously. Then you are more free to go higher in temperature because they can take more cooking. Chicken breast has a tendency to get dry if you cook it too far and too high in temperature. Let's see where we are. I have a good feeling about this. Let me just steer it around so I can find a nice piece here. And let me see what we are up to in core temperature. This is perfect. We are there 66 actually, so I'm gonna pull it because the carryover temperature will, oh yeah, this is 67, so that's perfect. I'm gonna kill the heat, and then we're gonna let the carryover temperature finish this off, and then we're gonna let it cool down a little bit to good eating temperature, and then we are plating up, and then it's taste test. Nicely plated up, we did our thumbnails, everything is ready. So now I get to taste this, and I'm pretty curious to see how it tastes. It smells good. That's one thing I can say. And let me get some of the sauce here, because that's the key point, I think. Well, the chicken is cooked to perfection. Juicy, of course, the brine always helps, okay? The sauce needs more spice. It's not spicy.
I knew it. You will say.
And it needs garlic.
Oh no.
But I was true to the recipe. It's nice, it's light, it's bright. It won't offend anybody. You can serve this to your kids even. They won't object to this. If I were to make the recipe, I would give it a couple of more tablespoons of harissa and a shit ton of garlic. But apart from that, it's very nice and the chicken is cooked to perfection. So give it a shot and dial it in to what you like.